All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Elevated and Chill. It's your boy CJ tap on the scene, tapping back in with you guys for another session. Y'all already know what we're here to do. We're here to catch a vibe. So as always, let's start off with a vibe check. A little vibe check for myself, checking in on the mental. I feel like this week has been much better. Definitely got back into dance again. Started that back up, hit a beginning class, just to get my feet acclimated, ready to go. And then been hitting the gym this week. Mostly was a cardio week. Just because I wanted to give my body a rest. I'm lifting weights a lot. Uh, in other news too, took a trip out to Niagara Falls, which was lovely. Had a good time to disconnect. Niagara Falls is beautiful. Took some pics as well. First getaway of 2026. So that was again good for the mental. So overall, last week was was a good week. Good week. You know what I mean? Had therapy too. So that was nice. Again, being back in therapy is a beautiful thing, just to kind of, you know, reset your brain, and use someone like, get a third party's advice and stuff like that. So, guys, I'll continue stressing this. If you guys need therapy, go for it. Something against any, it's not something negative or whatever. I think therapy really does help. If you find a therapist that's right for you. So if you need it, go for it. Here we're all about the mental health and stuff like that. So always want to keep the mental in check, the vibes immaculate, and just making sure that the genuine and good energy is flowing. Uh, I'm not gonna lie to you, OT. This is what I've been waiting for the most. To be honest, I was waiting for January, February, and March to kind of roll over to get started on this. But you know, a lot of albums have dropped in the hip hop realm. A lot of albums have dropped R&B as well. And I've been waiting for the moment to discuss this. So I've been waiting patiently. So this is kind of gonna be one of my, hopefully a little rundown, a great rundown of what projects we got from January to March. For the corporate people out there, Q1 to just summarize it. But the two things I want to say that really kind of got me aggravated is the fact that Stove God was supposed to drop a project late last week, and that didn't happen. And you know what it is? It's like, damn, I get it, his contract and all that stuff. I really do understand, but it's like, damn, man, I really want to hear Stove God. He's just one of those guys those artists that he's barred up. You know, he just gets me. He's really animated. He's melodic. He works well with West and Rock and all these different type of underground artists as well. I was really excited for him to drop. I was actually up at 12, a little bit past it, just to see if the album actually dropped, but unfortunately it didn't. I know he posted something on Instagram saying that it's coming soon, which I do hope so. I really hope so. I was a little disappointed, but you know what? If you're saying Stove is coming out soon, we're gonna wait on this. Somebody else I thought was gonna drop as well was West. He normally is at he normally drops when he said he's gonna drop. But he didn't drop. So I wonder if maybe it's because he's waiting for Stove to drop or whatever the case may be. But obviously, anytime West drops, it's always a great day. So those are the two artists I was kind of looking forward to dropping in quote unquote Q1, but didn't. But we got a lot of music. Top it off. I know I mentioned early in earlier episodes. Rock Marciano dropped 656. And to be honest, that's one of my favorite projects going into throughout the year so far. Just vintage rock, that classy, that classy braggadocious rap. It's kind of music that you can roll around uh on the freeway, or the interstate, or whatever the case may be, or the highway. Roll up a joint real quick, and you just play his music, and it's just like, yo, like you feel inspired. I feel like that album really got me inspired. He also has one of his I wouldn't say like he's like a newer artist of his, but an artist that he's been collaborating with a lot, Earl Holden. I actually tapped in when I heard him a little bit, and he got some bars. He spits very well. So shout out to Earl Holden. He had two projects. He had two. I'm sorry, two songs on this project. Very well did. The one thing about Rock is that he kind of reset time and kind of made it like kind of his first album. So that was pretty interesting to see. And just Rock is Rock. You know what I mean? Like he's the blueprint for a lot of underground rappers. So shout out Rock Marciano again. I'm bumping that specific album heavy, along with kind of going back to his older stuff as well. So shout out Rock, great overall, great project, like I mentioned before. But I'll keep on elaborating. It's been consistently in my rotation. My one of my favorite songs is Childish Things, as well as Prince and Apollina. But he has like a bunch of other songs on there too that are just heaters, to be honest, bangers. So go check that out. Go run it up. ASAP Rocky also dropped, and I know we mentioned this prior as well, but I think this Rocky album wasn't his best. I think Testing personally is his best, but I think this album really, like I mentioned before, was a good, nice welcome back album. You know what I'm saying? Robbery is one of my favorites with Dochi. Shout out Dochi, she's amazing. Whiskey is one of my favorites on that album as well. The track with Brent Fayez is also pretty dope as well. So he has a lot of tracks on there that that I would say like this is a great project that overall encompasses him and where he's at right now. So shout out to Rocky for making this happen. Long time waiting. Hopefully, we continue to get more music from him as well. Man, hold on. I gotta bring this up. Hold on, because J. Cole dropped as well. And you know what? I thought the J. Cole album was very nice. Don't get me wrong, home team. I thought it was very calm. I think there was a lot of obviously getting J. Cole in his regular bag of the 2-6 song was him just barred up and stuff like that. My personal favorite is Bounce of Road Blues with on Future and Thames. But Who the Fuck Is You is another track that I fuck with a lot as well. Um this is just it was a calm project, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't say like it was his best project, but I think, given the fact that what we've seen from Cole lately, of how he stepped out of the beef with Kendrick and Drake, I think this is a nice album to kind of like pull him back in there. Although for me, home team, I personally feel like he should have never dropped out of that battle. And I get it, like, hearing interviews about what he's talking about, like, it didn't sit well with him. But like I feel like when you engage in that type of like battle, like no matter I think you can't just like hop in and hop out. I think you gotta be all the way in. And I just think like him hopping out really put a bad scene on. I'm not gonna lie to you on myself, but a lot of like the hip hop culture as well. So this album, I'm not gonna sit here and say it's the best, even the best of 2026, just because Cole drop and he's a big artist. But there are tracks on there that I genuinely enjoy. So shout out Cole for dropping this project. I know it's been a work in the making for this. So he dropped it. Obviously, he's going on different interviews and talking about the music and stuff like that, and giving his opinions about where he stands with the beef and stuff like that. But for me personally, I think he should have stayed in it, but he didn't. He hopped out. But definitely, this album really kind of, obviously we were hearing him barred up. The one thing I gotta complain about this project though is the fact that it's too long for him. Like I don't think J. Cole can carry how many tracks is this? This is about it's a 24 CD 24 track album. I don't think J. Cole has range in his voice to carry a 24 trackless album. So I just think it was a lot of repetitive shit going on in the album. I think it could have been a little bit better in terms of like having like maybe shorten it a little bit. Kind of, maybe adding like other vocalists, like Thames is on there. Maybe we get a Ari kind of track as well. Or maybe some a Jid would have been nice just to have like some different type of people on there. Obviously Future, he has Future on there as well. So, I just think like the album could have been a little bit shorter, maybe like a 12 album project. I mean a 12 track list project, but you know, solid project. I give it like a 7.5, 8-ish out of 10. The one that we kind of been almost anticipating this whole year, Keem. Keem last dropped the album, I believe in during the pandemic, which was like 2021 ish. Melodic Blues has a lot of great tracks on there as well. Vet is on there, 16. Range Brothers, Family Ties is on there as well. I think Keem is one of those upcoming artists, not that really is experimenting with his voice now. I think this project, Casino, showed a lot about how Kendrick has influenced him a great deal because of the fact of how well he's able to step into different pockets and his range in his voices. Like even like on Circus Freestyle, I thought like, yo, is this Kendrick on the track? You know what I mean? Like just like his range and voices. And I know Kendrick does this thing where like he goes into like different like voices and stuff like that. And I think Keem is starting to interpret that and interpolate that into his music as well, which is kind of fascinating to see. Obviously when Kendrick was on the tour, you could see how Baby Keem's energy was kind of going into rubbing off on Kendrick. So just a little bit of that, you know what I mean? Like just a little bit of, how his range is trying to expand. He has some tracks where, he's kind of melodic. He has other songs where he's rapping. Again, the switching of the voices. So the production is amazing. A lot of heavy hitters. When I first heard Casino, I was like, whoa, this is different. This is tough. This is very tough. My two favorite House Money is a big one for me. Just again the overall production of it, the bass, the heaviness, like it makes you want to hit the gym. You know what I mean? And he says it in a song. You know what I mean? So Circus Freestyle is another one that's pretty fucking fire. Sex Appeal with Too Short is a dope song, dope track. I think a lot of people were looking forward to the collab with Kendrick and Baby Keem to be very rappy and stuff like that. But I kind of like the fact that they went into like that soft, like like smooth, like chill vibe. You know what I mean? Because again, it's a testament to both of their range and stuff like that. So I think following up to Melodic Blues, this is a solid project for me. I'll give it like a 9.5. It's something that I've been bumping a lot lately. Especially those three songs, Casino, actually four songs, Casino, Sex Appeal, Circus Freestyle, and Casino. Those are like my favorite tracks off the album. So, yo, home team, go run it up. And also go run up the Cole album too. Go home team for all my Cole fans out there. Go run that up as well. Next project, Don Toliver. You know, Don Toliver, the last two for me personally, the last two projects that he's dropped have been very like mid to me. But I think him coming out with this album Octane was very it to me it's a good project. I'm gonna give it like an 8.5, 9. Obviously the track with Trav, him and Trav, the collabs that they have together is immaculate. They're a great combination together. He has a Rema on there, with Secondhand. That's a dope track as well. He has ATM is on there. TMU Turn Me Up is a has been in my rotation for a while. That and Holy Rosary. No, I'm sorry, Rosary. Uh, this is a lot of tracks on here that are very vibey. E85 is another one. Body. I think really Don Toliver is showing out. Like he could do the hooks, he could do the melodics, he could create bangers that you'll hear in the club. Overall, I'm gonna give this project like an 8.5, 9, just because obviously like with Don Toliver, I'm not really Don Toliver really falls into that Trav where I'm not really looking for rappiness, like because hip hop is rap, so that's why. But I'm also critiquing it on that. But like I'm looking for more so like melodic, the production and all that stuff, like how well he kind of creates the album, and the flow, the cohesiveness and stuff like that. I maybe it could have been like a little bit shorter, a little bit, but overall, I think it's a solid project. Again, it's another one of my favorites this year. So go run that up, home team. Drop your comments. Drop it in the comments what you thought about the Don Toliver album. Larry June also dropped a project, which to me, the Larry June project was very, with Boldy James and the Alchemist. My favorite song on that is White Pages. That's when Alchemist is rapping. Uh, you know, this is a calm. This is like I wasn't really expecting much out of this, to be honest. It was a calm. It's a calm bump. White Pages has been in my rotation for a while. I'll probably give this album like a 7.5 as well. I'm not really like a huge Larry June fan. My boy Larry is a coincidence as a big Larry June fan, but he put me on to him as well. But I think Larry June has solid, tracks and stuff like that. I think overall Alchemist is always gonna go crazy on his, samples and stuff like that and how he produces. Boldy does go crazy, but oh, Boldy and is it? Hold on. They got but wait, hold on, Monty. I think I made a slight error on that. Hold on. Sorry. My fault, home team. My fault. Boldy James is not on this. I'm getting confused because Boldy dropped a collab project with, hold on, with Rome Streets. Got it mixed up. Larry June, Currency, and the Alchemist. But either way, White Pages is one of my favorites. Oh, I'm sorry, Empty Pages is one of my favorites. Overall correction. Empty Pages is one of my favorites, as well as this is a project with Larry June, Alchemist, and Currency. Again, dope project. Honestly, for me, I'll give it like a 7.5 and to 8. Like it's a calm vibe. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't really expecting much out of this project. You know, Stars on the Roof is another one. Drive Alone is another one as well. So again, Alchemist is Alchemist. Larry June is like again one of those artists that like you could just pop on roll up a joint, catch yourself on the highway and bumping this, you know what I mean? So great project. Like I said, it's definitely in my rotation as well. I gotta take a sip of water for this one. Okay. Yo, listen, Brent Fires, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Like that I was just not feeling that project. Like that project to me was just not, I don't know. Like, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how to rate this. I never really been a Brent Fires fan as well. I know he's a lot of people love him. I can see why he's very melodic, but to me, this album wasn't it. Yeah. So that's that. Central C also dropped that album. And I pretty he has some tracks on it that I fuck with. Like I said, like I'm not really like a heavy on Central C, but I think he works well with Dave and all the other London rappers as well. So shout out Central C for his project. I'll probably give that like a 7, 7.5. Nothing really there, but there was like songs that I was, oh shit, this is really catchy. Obviously the Iceman freestyle. He has a song with Jay Huss who called Slaughter, Maka, and it's pretty dope as well. Uh, so that's like a kind of it. There was like some other albums that dropped. Fabio dropped. I kind of listened to it a little bit. It wasn't all that. Um, you know, Chief Keef dropped the album. I tapped into that as well. Obviously he got some shit on there as well, but like it's kind of like the same Chief Keef. You know what I'm saying? But the ones Drake is dropping upcoming music coming up. Home team Aubrey slash Drake is dropping Iceman. I don't know when he's dropping Iceman, but me and Drake have me and Drake have had a lot of love hate relationship, but I think for him, like you just gotta respect what he is to the culture. He's a hit maker. Anything he touches is going number one. You know what I mean? That's just the reality. He's a generational talent. I just think some of the action that he takes is very questionable. But overall, like when you get it to the music, generational talent for sure. So Iceman is dropping. I will be tapping into that, giving you guys my review. Noah Khan is dropping as well. He has a song called "The Great Divide" that I've been streaming as a lot that's been in my rotation a lot. Um Luke Combs also dropped as well. He has like one or two songs on there that I fucked with. Lenny Tavares also dropped. A lot of music just dropping all around as well. Joji has a song with Giveon. That's pretty fire as well. But I think the albums that I've listed were kind of like my standouts of what I've been like kind of like listening to. Obviously, home team, drop whatever album you have in the comments. Let me know what you guys are tapping into, what you guys are listening to, as well as what are your opinions on all the albums I've listed as well. Actually, hold up, getting a little bit ahead of myself, home team. I apologize. Yo, we got Kanye and Sideshow. I can't believe I skimmed over these two. Wow. Kanye dropped his album last week or late last week. And listen, man, it was all right. Like obviously I'm a big old school Kanye fan. But I think I mean, this wasn't something that like I'm like fiending for. I mean, he has tracks on there that like are bangers, and obviously Kanye's gonna be do Kanye things on production. But it's kind of it was I. It wasn't all that. I don't think you know what I mean. Uh, Obviously he has that song with Trav, and he has Don Toliver. I think that song with CeeLo Green is crazy. That song with Green is pretty fire. I think the ending of the album is more better than the beginning, in my personal opinion. But that was nice to see Kanye dropping. Sideshow drop. That's a DMV artist who like raps with Mike and uh um damn, what's the and I think it's and Mavi as well. Uh you know, he has a song called Invader Jim that I've been fucking bumping heavy. That's been in my rotation heavy. But I think what really sticks out to me about Sideshow is really that disc 2 and disc 3. I think those do it for me as well. Really heavily. He got fucking deep it together. Flood to Frenzy, Blame Bernays, CCP like OTO. War Games is solid, obviously. Invader Jim is one of my has been in my rotation for a minute. Sideshow Bob is another one. Alina Paradise Lost is another one. So he got some great tracks on there that he's spitting and he's rapping. Sideshow, if you guys haven't heard of him, go tap into him. He just dropped his album Tagiri Funk. I'll give this album like a 9, 9.5. Fire project. Shout out to all the DMB rappers out there. So go stream him, go run it up. Now these are all the albums that I've been bumping lately. So obviously, guys, drop it in the comments with the opinions about the albums that I mentioned, as well as any other albums that you guys are tapping into. Obviously, I'm always looking forward to getting put onto new music, as well as we as a collective home team will be looking forward to Stove God, West, Drake, and Noah Khan. And if there's any other upcoming music as well, again, drop it in the comments, and I will give you guys my most humble review. All right. Now moving on to our next segment, which is the chill and night segment. You guys gave me some great questions here that I'm gonna do my best to answer to the best of my capability. We got the first question on the chill and night segment is with new drops from J. Cole, Baby Keem, Don Toliver, Kanye West, and Sideshow, are these artists actually evolving the sound or just dropping mid projects off their name recognition? Well, first of all, I think like Sideshow, I think Sideshow and like Don Toliver and Keem, I think those are fairly like newer artists, so that they're kind of like trying to gain that recognition. So they're still trying to find like their sound. Obviously like Sideshow and Don Toliver have more projects established than Baby Keem, but overall, I think those are the artists that are really trying to some kind of bring new flavor to the hip hop game. So I wouldn't say they're dropping mid pro. Like I said, these are projects that I love. So I think Baby Keem following up his with his sophomore album Casino, dope. Don Toliver, I think for me personally, made a comeback on Octane, given the other projects that he has dropped. Sideshow is like been consistent with all his music. And then like Kanye and J. Cole, like I think Kanye, wanted to like get his creativity out there. So I wouldn't say the J. Cole and Kanye West project are mid to me personally. And I don't think they just dropped it out of their name recognition. I feel like if they would have, I feel like one, J. Cole doesn't do that. That's not in his personality to do. And Kanye, I think for him, like maybe he was in a creative space that he wanted to get things off his chest and stuff like that. But I don't think it's more so about their name recognition, to be honest, or dropping their projects. Again, Bully wasn't like something that I'm all crazy about, but I wouldn't say like it was mid. I think the latter, like I mentioned before, home team, the latter half of the project is better than the beginning. But other than that, like I think overall it was definitely like it was a it was a it was a solid project for sure. Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously we do get projects sometimes that are just thrown out there. Like for me personally, like one of the projects that I felt like, just generally speaking, that was just thrown out there was For All the Dogs. I feel like that was just kind of thrown out. Like there was a lot of skips on that album, and it's just like, you know, yeah, where are we going with this? I know Kanye, like he has done that before where he just dropped mid projects. But this specific project that he dropped, no. I do think J. Cole when he dropped For Your Eyes Only, it was like a lot of people love that album. For me, it didn't really do nothing for me, especially like with an album like KOD. I feel like for me, KOD, we don't really talk about KOD anymore. So, you know, Don Toliver has been dropping like mid projects as well. So like I think you know artists definitely sometimes drop mid projects. But I think in this specific time right now, I don't think it was off of they dropped mid projects as well, just to get their name, continue with their name. Second question. During the NCAA tournament, shout out the NCAA. I got my March Madness. Actually, home team, little sidebar. This shirt right here, this shirt right here was when Marquise Noel when from Michigan State when they were facing damn I forgot I think it was Kansas. Was it Kansas? It was when he recorded the most assists in a game. So this is when I bought this shirt. So shout out It was back in 2023. But during the NCAA double A division, the March Madness tournament, do Cinderella runs make the tournament better, or do fans really want to see powerhouse programs win it all? No, I think the great thing about the NCAA tournament is that anybody can win. Like you could be like a Duke, a Kansas, a UConn, but then you could also be like a TCU or you know, uh, for example, like a Hofstra or whatever, and you could make a huge run and just play out of grit and grind and make it to like the Final Four or even the finals or win it all. So I think that's what keeps the I think people engaged in the March Madness because you just never know who could win at any point in time. Because if you think about it, it's a tournament style. So once you lose, you out. There's no like game 7 or whatever the case may be. So I think the Cinderella runs really add more passion and energy to the tournament. Versus like if we saw a Kansas or Duke, or obviously like these teams are prop more apt to win because they have a lot of great players on their team and they're well coached and all this stuff. Like they have a lot of resources. But I think the good thing about the tournament is that it makes it fun when you have those Cinderella runs. Like I think one year TCU was making us had a Cinderella run as well, and it was just crazy to see because they'd never been anywhere. You know what I mean? Like I don't think they'd never been to the I think they got knocked out to like the Elite Eight or something like that. But for them, that was a championship, and like you're like, wow, like that's fucking amazing. You know what I mean? So I think Cinderella runs really do make the tournament better. To be honest, I think it provides a certain energy and level that it's that you can't replace. You know what I mean? So yeah, shout out to the Cinderella teams, but obviously shout out to the powerhouse programs as well, Duke, the UConns, and you know, listen, we're gonna talk about that later on in the show in the episode of Home Team, but it's cooking up. It's cooking up for sure. Last question is with teams like the New York Yankees, Los Angeles Dodgers, starting hot, do you think early season success actually predicts playoffs or is it just April hype? I think it's just April hype. Do I think the Dodgers are gonna take it all? Potentially, yeah. I think the Dodgers are set in stone for potentially going to the World Series. But the Yankees, I mean, we're notorious for doing this. We start off hot, and then all of a sudden the playoffs comes, and we're abysmal. So yeah, I think it's just April hype. I think, and I'm just a opponent of you could start the season immaculate, but it's all about how you get to the playoffs and how you do in the playoffs. Again, playoffs define teams, playoffs define players, they define legends, they define a lot of things. So if you're not in the playoffs and you're not doing nothing in the playoffs, like I think really and truly, like the regular season don't matter. It don't matter at all. Like nobody's looking at the regular season. So yeah, I think personally, I think it's just the April hype. I think everybody's like excited that baseball's back and stuff like that. And we're seeing the Yankees off to a hot start. Obviously, the Dodgers are also off to a hot start, but I think the Yankees this is what they do all the time. So I'm not saying anything until they actually make it to the playoffs and they do something in the playoffs and they bring home a chip. That's really how what it boils down to, home team. But home team, let me know what you guys think about these 3 questions. Great questions, by the way. Again, I appreciate you guys sending these over and the continuously doing having interactions. So drop your comments, your thoughts in the comment section. Looking forward to what you guys have to your opinions and stuff like that. Ooh. March Madness. March Madness. We're here. Obviously, a few tight games. If any home team, if you guys did not see that Duke versus St. John's, I caught the latter half of it, and it was amazing. Shout out St. John's, even though they lost. What Rick Pitino is doing at St. John's is absolutely amazing. He's gotten there and he's really revitalized that program. It's a testament to who he is as a coach and what he's instilling and what recruiting that he's doing to get players there, and what overall he's doing for St. John's. So that was a beautiful game. Obviously, St. John's lost, but listen, you going up against Duke, that's a premier NCAA, and you know that I believe they just came off the ACC championship, and it's like you take them down to the wire and lose by 5. You know, although losing sucks, you got to give credit to where credit is due. They definitely put up a fight. They shot 40% from the 3 pointer, from the three, 45% overall. Going toe to toe, had 19 assists, 7 steals, so they locked down on defense. Were low on turnovers. Um, you know, they they got a little out rebounded a little bit, but not by that much. Obviously had a lot of playmaking going on. The standout players were, Hopkins. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Who you for? Sorry if I pushed that up, but he had 17 and 8. Hopkins had 15 and 7. And obviously, like Duke is gonna be Duke, you know what I mean? Like they had a they got Evans, then they got the Boozer twins as well. So I actually, to be honest, one of the Boozer twins didn't do well. He only had 7 points. But overall, it's like when you look at Duke, you think that they're bound to blow out teams. You know what I mean? But it's like I said, St. John's put up a fight. This is a great game. Looking forward to what they do next year. Another nail biter that they had was with Kansas, 65-70, 67-65. Kansas is a premier team. You knocked out Kansas, man. That's tough. And again, they didn't shoot well from the three, but they were just consistent. You know what I mean? They limited their turnovers and stuff like that. So say thank you, home team. Sorry for that sneeze. But yeah, I think they're doing well. Like I said, Rick Pitino has that program in very great hands. Another nail biters, Purdue versus Texas. This is another good game as well. Texas took them to the wire. Purdue obviously came out winning, but just Texas was just playing their heart out. 51% from the field, 44% from three. Obviously, Purdue didn't have a great game, but again, this is what the tournament's about. You gotta come in. It doesn't matter if you're facing a 13 seed or number 1 seed. You gotta pretend, yo, whoever I'm facing, you gotta go in there and you gotta put the foot on the neck. That's it. You can't. You gotta put your foot on the gas all the way. You can't just let up. You know what I mean? Even if you're struggling, you gotta find ways to win. And obviously, Purdue came out with this, but Texas, listen, Texas, they had it. They were doing very well. You know what I'm saying? They matched rebound wise, 31-32. So they were doing a lot of matching Purdue. You know what I'm saying? So this was a tight game. Obviously, Purdue came out with the win, but shout out Texas for giving Purdue a run for their money for sure. Michigan versus UConn, Michigan State versus UConn was another great game as well. Obviously, UConn came out with the W, but 63-67. You can't go wrong with that. Tight game. I feel like UConn just shot a little bit better. Obviously from three as well as from the field as well. They kind of matched rebound wise. They didn't really get out rebound crazy. Just yeah, I mean the turnovers matched. But yeah, I just think overall UConn. Dan Hurley's he's a he's insane. He's absolutely insane. So they just had a good they really had a good game. You know what I mean? So shout out UConn for progressing. I caught this game as well. They started off slow though. Michigan did start off slow, but I was glad they kind of like caught up. So now we're in the final four. A lot of tight games going on, tight matches. Before I get into the final four, though, Duke versus UConn was a nail biter. UConn, Duke had them. One of the Booster twins lost the ball, and lo and behold, UConn comes with a buzzer beater. So again, you just never know what can happen. So, you know, nail biters across the board, but UConn is now in the final four. So it would be UConn versus Illinois, Arizona versus Michigan. First of all, home team. I want to say I did tell you guys I was gonna make a bracket. It was not able to, but I've been following along. But I'll give you my who I want for this final four matchup. I'm going UConn versus Arizona, and I got UConn winning. I think UConn is gonna pull this out. Dan Hurley's gonna get another championship, and it's just a testament to who he is as a player, how he recruits, it is his program. You know what I mean? So but this has been one for this tournament has been very very interesting nonetheless. You know, a lot of nail biters, a lot of good games, a lot of teams coming out the woodworks. You know what I mean? You know, we didn't even know Texas was gonna do this. St. John's is gonna do this. You know, they upset Kansas. You know, so I think a lot of teams are very there. You know what I mean? So whoever wins, best of luck. But I got UConn coming out of there with the championship and versus Arizona. And other world of sports, home team, MLB. Obviously, speaking, you guys mentioned it in the elevated and chill segment, but opening day did happen last week as well. You know, early standouts, Shohei, Acuna Jr., Mookie Betts, Kyle Tucker, they're kind of all doing well for their respective teams. What's interesting is that it looks like Mookie Betts has a high on base percentage, which is pretty good. So he's kind of getting on base early. Mookie Betts is Mookie Betts. To me, he's one of the premier players in the MLB, and obviously all these players are kind of the premier premier players in the MLB as well. Just overall looking at the landscape of what's going on in the MLB, standout teams, the Yankees, they always do this start off hot. The Dodgers, the Braves, the Blue Jays, and the Astros. I think the Blue Jays have a chip on their shoulders due to the fact that they lost the World Series. You know, I think Vladdy gave Vladdy some experience in the World Series, and now losing, he might go on a run, and maybe the Blue Jays might make it happen this year. You know what I mean? The Braves are always kind of up there. Obviously, where Acuna Jr. is, that's like a set in stone type of thing. Not really set in stone, but they always do, are kind of like up there. Yeah, so that's kind of like a early landscape of what's going on in the MLB, and obviously, this wouldn't be the Elevated and Show podcast if I didn't speak about the Yankees, which, huh. Um, they're also a great start, 13-1. No, I'm sorry, 13-1 runs. So they scored 13 times and had one allowed run. And they're 3-0. Max Fried is pitching amazing, but what really the thing about it is that they started off 7-0 against the Giants. They've been pitching very well. Garrett Cole is expected to come back soon. But the thing is just like, how well can you uphold this? That's my thing. Where is Judge? Judge is, it seems like he's there. He's performing well. Cody's up there, Jazz, but can they carry this momentum going into the MLB season? Can they do that? When they face the Dodgers, can they match up against the Dodgers? Can they match up with the Braves or Blue Jays? Like, these are teams that won. Well, the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, they were in the World Series last year, and more primarily the Dodgers. The Dodgers, that team is super stacked. So how well do we phase up against them? I don't think we phase up against them at all. That's something that we need to see Aaron Judge pick up the heat. We need to see him do well. I don't know where we're standing at. No, Bellinger needs to do what he needs to do. You know what I mean? We need to get Garrett Cole back. You know, Max Fried is, he's pitching good, but you know what I mean? Like, this is things that, I get there's humps in the season, but we need to continue this throughout the season and into the playoffs and the World Series and win the World Series. I think that's where I'm at with the Yankees. They need to win this. They need to win this. This is not a, oh well, potentially they might. No, I need them to win. That's really what it comes down to. That's it. The teams that the teams that could hit the ball, pitch, they have a good pitching rotation as well as, it kind of falls into the pitching rotation, but the bullpen. And like I said on last week, listen, pitching is dominant. If you have a good bullpen and you have a good pitching rotation, you're golden. I think you're definitely gonna strive. So listen, the Yankees aren't a heater right now, and I love that for them. But I want to see this energy carry over into the season. You know what I mean? I want to see when we hit July and August, they're still we're looking at the Yankees and be like, all right, yeah, they're cooking up here. And who knows? You might go into the playoffs like an underdog, and I'm fine with that. But I want to see consistency. That's what I want to see from the Yankees. Obviously going up against the Dodgers, they're right now they're like a conglomerate. You know what I mean? They got they got what you call it. They got Mookie Betts. They got Freddie Freeman. They got fucking Shohei Ohtani. They got the Japanese pitchers and all that stuff. And it looks like Aaron Judge, he's doing well now, and he might have a career season in home runs. But then he goes into the playoffs and he's looking like not Aaron Judge. He's looking like fucking, I don't know, fucking Alex Judge or some shit like that. I don't know, like maybe his alter ego. I don't know, like I don't know what's going on. So we need to show up, but obviously, you know, just generally speaking, the MLB, starting off hot. You know what I mean? A lot of again, I think it really just outlines the importance of pitching across the MLB, across the MLB. So I got to get out to the game. I'll be at the game soon with my Yankees jersey intact. Definitely got to get out to the game for sure. So Yankee Stadium, you will be seeing me this season. Don't disappoint me. Please don't disappoint me. All right, guys. As always, and I think the Yankees are gonna need this as well. You know, co, co co-star sponsored by co-star. You know, waiting for that John Hancock, man. Waiting for that John Hancock. But whenever you co-star, whenever you're ready, send over the contract. But the last segment of this session is elevated and chill. And my elevated and chill for you guys is you are not your resume. You are not even your CV. Wow. And I think that's really like telling for me as well. Like I think you're not what what your resume states or whatever the case may be. I think you're you are something beyond that. First of all, you're an individual outside of your career path that you've chosen, whether it be nursing, being a teacher, a my field, on the media field, whatever the case may be. You're a human. You have a lot of hobbies that you're into, and you know hobbies could range from finance to tech or sports or movies or whatever the case may be. I think we really need to, as a collective, like understand like humanizing us rather than kind of be in that mind state of worrying about working and the resume and building the resume, and that's fine. I think you should do that, but it takes a delicate balance, and I think we're not just the resume or the career that we chose, but we are humans that like different other things as well. So, and you know what, home team as well, it's hot, it's a great day today. Go outside, catch some sun, you know, step away from your computer for a little bit if you're working today or not, and relax, take it easy, catch some touch some grass or whatever the case may be. And I think that will help you understand. Listen, there are other experiences outside of work that might be beneficial to you more and help you with your mental. So that's my elevated advice for you guys. Uh, Let me know what you guys think. Drop it in the comments as well. Let me know what you guys think about the MLB. Also, the top teams, your opinions, what's going on. Definitely drop that in the comment as well. And yeah, home team. As always, it was a dope session. As always, we are on YouTube, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for all my Eastern fellows on the East Coast, and then 3 p.m. To all my fellow home team members on the West Coast. Subscribe, hit the bell, stay locked in with us. And as always, until next time, home team, I see you guys on the flip side.